talk master planning, yes, but if I... Call this meeting of the Oskaloosa City Council to order. Today is June 1st, 2015. Let's start with the invocation. Pastor Albert Boatsma, Good News Chapel.
Let us pray. Father in heaven, we come to you this night. We thank you for the opportunity that brings us together in a country where we can have deliberations between one another and be with each council member and as they participate in discussion with the community, and that we may do all things for the betterment and the upbuilding of the city of Oskaloosa. Thank you for various agencies that work therein, the programs that are going on within the city in this coming summer months as children are out of school. Be with the library, be with various churches, be with the lunch program. Watch over them as well. Hear our prayer, forgive our sins. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. You join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Caligari.
Here.
Jimenez.
Here.
Moore. Van Zetten.
Yes.
Versteg.
Here.
Walling.
Yes.
Yates.
Here.
Thank you. Next item is the community comments. Item is reserved to receive comments from the community for concerns whether or not they're included in the current agenda. The community is encouraged to come and speak before the mayor and city council, asked to keep statements brief. Time is limited to no more than 3 minutes. Any questions are to be asked of the city staff, the council members, or the mayor prior to speaking to the full council, so that way hopefully we can answer the question and do the proper research away from the meeting. Comments are to be directed to the mayor and city council only. Is there anyone who would care to speak at this time?
I'm Wayne Hook, an old man that's lived on or about Oskaloosa and worked in the business community for the past 50 years. Through the newspaper, I would like to speak to the subject of extending sidewalks to our westerly church and Walmart. I might be misunderstanding, but I read it briefly, and Lord knows there's been enough misunderstanding about the city bandstand. We have at least 12 newer, and by newer I mean 60 years old or less, of subdivisions with quality housing that have no sidewalks to them and no sidewalks. And why we'd be considering running sidewalk to an isolated location of businesses and or church that purposely put themselves out, in my view, near the 4-lane to attract additional traffic. I might also conclude by saying, if there is such concern with those parties for sidewalks, why haven't they petitioned the Iowa DOT or the city of Oskaloosa for a crosswalk sign incorporated into their signage right now that presently allows you to enter their properties? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would care to speak this evening? Okay, moving on. Next item is item 5. This has to do with the consent agenda. All of the items here are considered to be routine in nature. No discussion is anticipated. And so a lot of it has to do with beer permits, liquor permits, payment of claims. I would draw your attention, though, item G, where we're appointing to the Planning and Zoning Commission Stephen Tews. We also have on item H, there was a typographical error that was made on this page where we're considering the approval of a pay request in the amount of, it says $100,216. It should say $300,648.89 going to Cornerstone Excavating for the 3rd Avenue East reconstruction project. Item K, also I want to draw your attention to that. That's a resolution authorizing the temporary closure of South 1st Street between High Avenue East and 1st Avenue East from noon to midnight. Central Reformed Church has a Christian music event. And then item L, a resolution scheduling a public hearing on the vacation and sale of 2nd Avenue East between South 7th Street and South 8th Street to Central Reformed Church, and that's located at 815 2nd Avenue East. That hearing will be on June 15. There was included in our packet petition of 72 signatures of folks who were opposed to it. But again, this is just scheduling the hearing. So do I have a motion for approval? Okay, any discussion?
And just to clarify, that hearing for the street vacate is happening 2 weeks from now, but we're looking at the alleys tonight, is that correct? So 2 different things split up differently. Okay.
Roll call, please.
Calgery,
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Van Zetten.
Yes.
Versteg. Walling.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Going on to item 6. This is the announcement of vacancies and also of the various vacancies that we have on various boards and commissions. First is the Building Code Board of Appeals. 1 vacancy to fill upon appointment, serves at the pleasure of the mayor. This is a 5-member board that meets as needed. Currently, we have 3 males and 1 female serving, 1 vacancy. Historic Preservation Commission, 1 vacancy to fill upon appointment for an unexpired term that ends on December 31st of 2016. It's a 7-member board that meets as needed. Currently, we have 2 males and 4 females serving, 1 vacancy. And last, the Library Board, we have 3 vacancies for 6-year terms. They begin on July 1 of 2015 and ending on June 30th of 2021. And we have 1 vacancy for an unexpired term that's ending on June 30th, 2017. It's a 9-member board that typically meets on the 4th Monday of the month. Currently, we have 4 males and 5 females serving. Moving on, item 7, the regular agenda, or new agenda items. Item A, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution on the vacation of public alleys adjacent to properties that are owned by Central Reformed Church located at 815 2nd Avenue East, and a resolution to approve the deed and authorize the sale of the alley. Representatives from Central Reformed Church have submitted an alley vacation request. This request has been made in anticipation of future church building expansion and parking improvements. It also includes portions of 3 different public alleys. All of the requested alleys are located in an R2, which would be Urban Family Residential District, and Central Reformed Church owns the properties on either side of the public alleys. The descriptions of the alley portions, first is a 256.5 by 16.5 foot east-west alley. It's lying between and adjacent to 815 2nd Avenue East and 802 1st Avenue East. The next one is 136.5 by 16.5 foot portion of the east-west alley lying adjacent to 810 and 814 2nd Avenue East. And the last is the 120 foot by 16.5 foot portion of the north-south alley lying adjacent to 810 2nd Avenue East. At their May 11th, 2015 meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-0 in favor of the alley vacation request. Staff is recommending approval of these alley vacates along with any required utility access easements and/or utility relocations. It is a public hearing, and so I'll open the hearing at this time. Is there anyone who would care to speak to these alley vacations? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion for approval of these, approval of a resolution?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I just find it interesting that these are busted up into two different groups. The vacate is next week. We're looking at the alleys this week. I don't know how that came about. I've gotten calls about the alley. I don't know about anybody else. I don't know where that's gone or how that played out.
Which alley?
I've gotten calls on both alleys here, so that's
Okay,
why
well,
I'm kind of confused on nobody's speaking for it. So I guess my recommendation was if you were against it, to come up and speak against it. And nobody has.
Okay. We do have Wendell Campbell here from Planning and Zoning Commission.
Jason, I can answer a little bit of that. That was actually brought up in the first initial meeting at Planning and Zoning. Provide a little bit of clarity to that. There were a couple of those that were taken off the table initially as the public comment during the commission meeting. And so this was actually approved at the very first meeting of Planning and Zoning. We held a special meeting at the end of May, giving the church an opportunity to present to the neighborhood so that's kind of why the street vacate and the alley vacates were separated. We approved this one initially because of the ownership of the property. So we just didn't have the approval on the street vacate in time to get it on the city council meeting for 2 weeks ago in order for it all to be one.
So it was just a timing issue for you guys.
Exactly. There was actually, I believe, a total of 5 requests at the initial meeting. After the public comment, they removed 3 of those, and so these were the 2 that were remaining, as they own basically both sides of the properties as far as you look at these.
So this is just the ones that were, so you dumped some of these and we're only looking at the ones that they own.
We
both
didn't dump
sides.
them, they were voluntarily removed
Voluntarily.
by the church during
Okay.
during their comment portion of the commission hearing.
Okay.
Any further comments or questions?
I guess just specific to that, I also did receive calls, but they were related to the alleys that they dropped. So I haven't received any calls on the one specifically that's still being considered.
Any further comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Jimenez,
Yes.
Van Zetten,
Yes.
Versteg. Yes. Walling,
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Calgery.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item B, consider a resolution scheduling a public hearing on vacation and sale of an 80-foot by 16.5-foot of the north-south public alley adjacent to 220 North Market Street and referring the matter to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The City of Oskaloosa Fire Department is requesting to vacate the 80-foot by 16.5-foot north-south public alley that's adjacent to City Hall. This request has been made in anticipation of the expansion of the fire department building. The requested alley vacation is located in a DC, which is downtown commercial district, with the west half of the alley in the historic district overlay. Oskaloosa Municipal Code Section 12.24.020 requires alley vacate requests to be referred to Planning and Zoning Commission for their recommendation prior to action by the City Council. Staff will perform a survey of the property owners and utility companies who have direct access to this portion of the alley. The recommendation is approval of the resolution scheduling the public hearing for June 15th, and then referring the request to Planning and Zoning for study and recommendation. So do we have support for this resolution?
Moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Van Zetten.
Yes.
Versteg.
Yes.
Walling.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Calgery.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item C, consider a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a purchase agreement with Hyman Fire Equipment for the purchase of a pumper tanker apparatus, amount not to exceed $281,323. Staff is proposing to purchase a 2016 Rosenbauer FX pumper tanker apparatus and related equipment mounted on a Freightliner chassis, all per the provided Rosenbauer and Freightliner specifications. The sum of $86,749 has to be paid to Hyman Fire Equipment upon chassis delivery to the Rosenbauer factory, their build center, which is approximately 90 to 120 days from contract signing, with a balance of $194,574 being due upon delivery and final inspection at the Oskaloosa Fire Department. The equipment would be delivered to the Oskaloosa Fire Department approximately 270 calendar days after receipt of the signed order agreement. Staff also received bids from Reliant Fire Apparatus for a Pierce 4x2 pumper tanker mounted on a Freightliner M2106 chassis for an undelivered price of $277,591, and there would be an additional $3,000 delivery fee that would be added upon delivery, bringing the total cost to $280,591, or the staff would need to travel to Florida and pick up the apparatus, bringing to mind, what's that like to drive a fire truck through the Appalachians home. Yeah. Staff solicited bids from Denko Emergency Equipment, but they were unable to meet specifications within the budgeted money and did not submit a formal bid. All the vendors were given identical specification sheets and a dollar amount that they could not exceed. Only Hyman Fire Equipment met all of the specifications. The Reliant Fire Apparatus met all of them with the exception of the gallons of water on board. The bid was required 2,000 gallons, and they supplied an answer of 1,800 gallons. Staff is working on options for dispersal of the 1984 Smeel pumper. This apparatus needs to remain in service until delivery of the new apparatus or other arrangements are made. Funding for this would be coming from general obligation bonds being sold with the new fire station addition and the remodel. Do we have a motion supporting this?
Second.
Discussion.
What's the brand name of the pumper that we've had trouble with? Pierce. It's a Pierce, thank you.
And the need for this piece of equipment is driven by just age of existing equipment or maintenance?
Yes, age, yeah. This all gets taken into account, the amount of water that they can carry, the age, it all gets taken into account, the ISO ratings as well. And so it's not only just an upgrade for firefighting purposes, but also helps with those types of scores.
So it's replacing this 84 Schmiel pumper, is that right? And the one you just mentioned that we're having trouble with, keeping?
Yes.
Is that-
Yes.
So we're
Yeah.
going to be needing to replace that one soon?
That's the newer version of our pumpers, actually. So we have a 2000 and we have a 2007, and the 2007 seems to be the one that's given us quite a bit of fits since we got it. I think if we get into the discussions of potentially a Quint, which would be maybe an aerial type of apparatus, then we would look at trading off that newer pumper.
Okay.
Other comments?
What's the typical life of a piece of equipment like this? But is that the industry typical usage?
It depends on where you're at. I mean, there's some cities out there that'll have a 15-year cycle, but yeah, for around here, it's 25 to 30 years to deploy.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
First Aid.
Yes.
Walling.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Caligari.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Van Zetten.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Takes us to item D. It's a resolution setting a public hearing for the purpose of considering an offer and sale of city-owned property at 603 North D Street to Mahaska County Habitat for Humanity. The date in question would be on June 15th, 2015. The city received 603 North D Street from a local bank after the property owner walked away from the home in early 2012. Since that time, staff has attempted to solicit bids from the public for the property so it could be redeveloped into housing. Unfortunately, attempts to sell the property didn't return any interested parties. So this spring, Mahaska County Habitat for Humanity approached city staff to discuss their development plans and to request possible partnership opportunities in the form of the sale of the city-owned property to their organization. City staff shared 603 North D Street as a viable property for such a partnership, and Habitat has concurred. Habitat is offering the city $100 for the city-owned property with the intent of constructing a single-family home similar to the other properties they have completed in Oskaloosa. Construction would begin this summer with the intent of having the home enclosed by winter and construction completed by the next calendar year. If City Council ultimately approves this transaction, it would relieve the city from mowing responsibilities and the liability that's associated with a vacant lot. Redevelopment of the parcel would result in a much higher assessed value improvement compared to today, or when the city took ownership of the property with a dilapidated structure on it. Staff is supporting the proposal from Habitat, also recommends the City Council consider a similar partnership opportunity to be considered between the city and Habitat after this home is constructed for the conveyance of the vacant lots located at 1212 and 1214 First Avenue West. This is only setting the public hearing. Do we have a motion supporting this resolution?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call.
Walling.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Calgery.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Ben Zettin.
Yes.
Versteg.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item E, this is discussion and possible action on directing city staff to draft amendments to the Oskaloosa Municipal Code, Chapter 5.24, having to do with peddlers, solicitors, and transient merchants for future council consideration. This has been requested to place on the council agenda for discussion by council members Van Zetten and Versteg. And for a little background, at the May 18, 2015 City Council meeting, Councilmember Van Zetten expressed an interest in modifying the city's code to no longer require fingerprinting and a current photograph as part of the permitting process. If the City Council supports directing staff to make modifications to the Oskaloosa Municipal Code, a separate item and associated readings, typically 3, will be required prior to the enactment of such code amendments. And so, Jason, what do you want us to know?
Yeah, well, thanks, Aaron, for putting this on and backing me up on this to bring us up to talk with everybody. I was talking with somebody that had just a mobile business up there, and they were just in talking said, well, I had to go get fingerprinted and I had to submit a photo ID. And I thought that just jumped out strange. You know, I've got a pilot's license. I didn't have to submit a fingerprint or a photo ID. You can go get a driver's license in some states and not even be a U.S. citizen. And we talk about barriers to business. I kind of wondered why we're doing background checks on these mobile vendors. And I wanted to kind of split it up into probably 2 groups. One, do you think that we need to be fingerprinting and photo IDing people on the mobile side? And 2, this is talking about door-to-door sales. Do people really even do this anymore? Is that, 10 years ago we came up with a no-call list so people wouldn't call you at home. Same type of thing. I don't want them knocking on my door either. This code had just exception after exception after exception. I think there was 10 different exceptions in there. So you could get around the whole fingerprinting law if you gave money to I think it was the chamber, and then you could claim, 2 or 3 different statuses to get around it. So it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It was just something that I wanted to clean up and maybe get your opinion on.
Why was it in there in the first place? The fingerprinting, photographing, I'm assuming that it's a kind of a, not unlike what banks go through where they have to know their customer. I don't know, Jake, we might be catching you off kind of cold here, but
You go to the microphone, please.
would you be willing to talk a little bit about what we're trying to accomplish with this?
Sure. First of all, I think that form has been in existence for quite some time. It's outdated. Most cities now have similar ordinances that we have right now, with the exception on the application. There is no fingerprint. We have been collecting IDs. Anytime someone comes into the police department, we always get a copy of their driver's license and a photocopy of it, so we have that information on hand. But the ordinance talked about fingerprinting, so.
Okay.
But like I said, I'm guessing that ordinance has been around for quite some time, and back in the day, that was their way of identification.
You don't feel it's necessary now?
No, I do not.
Okay. It talks about, in the agenda item, both fingerprinting and photo. I guess the photo comes from the driver's license then, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
But it's good to have people to register. I mean, if they're gonna, go to door or be on the square selling things, I think it's still a good idea, they
Well,
register.
I guess I kind of,
But they
I'm
don't need
willing
to
to
be,
bust that up into two questions.
okay, but I don't think they need to be fingerprinted or, they should have some sort of license.
Yeah, I'm not saying get away from a license at
Okay.
all.
All right.
I still support getting a license.
Yeah.
Just we don't need to do I don't need a background check
No.
to do business here in a brick and mason. Why would I need something there?
Right.
That didn't make sense to me. But the next thing I would ask is, do we want people going door to door anymore? I don't think the Girl Scouts sell cookies door to door anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
do.
Do they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll send them your way.
Checkbook is sufficiently lightened.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll send them your way.
I get the Jehovah Witnesses quite a bit.
Oh,
so-
I don't get those.
So, so I'm sensing that there's agreement from the general counsel having to do with the fingerprinting. You're able to work off of the driver's license for identifying that way. But okay, sorry, you're saying you would...
I'd like to get rid of the fingerprinting and photo ID, but either way is, if you need the photo ID, fine.
Well,
Typically, what we do, when we receive the application from the clerk's office, and what we do is we call, on the application, they're supposed to list 3 different places where they've done business previous before coming here. And typically, what we do is we call those cities and just ask if there were any issues with this group.
So how did we handle RAGBRAI when that came through?
Referred
to the chamber.
Yeah.
Chamber handled that. That was, I believe, a council action that actually created that specific
And so
diversion.
did they fingerprint people, or what did they do?
They had their own set of rules and regs that they administered.
Yeah, but there were approved vendors.
Yeah, they all went, yes.
And I think, if I'm correct, the list of approved vendors, the chamber can correct me, I think those actually come down to the city from the state. I think the RAGBRAI committee has those put together.
Yeah, they had to sign up through RAGBRAI.
I would like to see the fingerprinting and the exceptions be gone. I mean, it was just full of exceptions in there, from being a member to the chamber to any group that wanted to be on there.
So in terms of, I mean, you were right that there's a significant number of exceptions. We're talking about people who deliver newspapers, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, any farmers offering their product for sale.
Football teams.
yeah,
Students.
Okay. I mean, that's quite a list of folks that you would not exclude anymore.
So like when we have, under H, when we do the Art on the Square, which is a chamber event, or I think what it's called, the Skunk River Arts Festival, all those are exempted because they're coming in under the chamber.
Correct.
Okay. The way it's currently written.
That's right.
So if everything's exempt, why are we doing it? That's my point. I mean,
Maybe that's a
everything
good
comes.
question. How many applications a year do we get that follow this roughly?
It depends. I want to say probably 10 or 15 off the top of my head.
Over the course of a year?
And some come back, might get 1 month, and then they'll come back for another month, because it's generally a temporary thing. But we do have businesses that we're giving licenses to every year.
Okay.
Some are door-to-door, some are transient merchant.
I think it does have some value in the, and I'll just use when we have hailstorms, with the number of companies coming in town going, and they do go, these are roofing companies that go door to door to door. And at least we can track them if there's any issues that way. With as many scams that are going on now, not only on the internet, and we still have the driveway scams, and we still have those type things. And I give the citizens credit, because they do call us when someone comes to their door and ask us to check them out. So I guess from my perspective, I think it's a good thing so that we know what's going on within our community, who's out there selling, at least legitimately. And I just think it's a safeguard for the citizens.
So what should we do?
You're okay with getting rid of the fingerprinting? I'm not saying,
Yes.
I'm not saying dump the permit process. I'm saying let's clean it up.
Yeah, and that's,
I think we can direct Mike to put something together that would clean that code up, still keeping some of the safeguards that we want to keep as well.
Is that enough for you to work with, or?
The questions I'd have would be the exceptions, and if there's some guidance on that. And then from our perspective, we'd like to address the fee as well, and just take a quick look at that and see if there's a way that it could be structured a little bit easier, in a way that's easier to administer.
Sounds good. So on the exceptions, are they exempt from even filing at all, or are they just exempt from the fee?
The fee, they still have to file with you, correct? That's what you still take the paperwork?
It says the following are excluded from the application of the chapter.
Those exemptions don't, but like a religious organization, they would still get a license. We just wouldn't charge them, but they have to go through the process, which we have compared it to other cities, and that's kind of standard in all the cities. But we don't, the Girl Scouts, they don't come in, they don't get one. The school, when they sell tickets or something, they don't come in and get one. They're exempt. We don't give one to the chamber people. They don't come to us at all because they're associated with that. So those are exemptions.
But that's not what this code says. I don't know how you got that. This code lists a bunch of exemptions. Here's what I want. I just want everybody to do the same thing. I don't care if we waive the fee. I'm all for waiving the fee for those guys. I'm not after the fee there. But I want the process to be the same for everybody.
Okay.
And not have different processes.
Currently, they're not filling out an application.
Okay, everybody on this list isn't filling out. A through I is not filling out this.
If that's the Girl Scouts and the...
That's the newspaper, the club members, the farmers,
Right.
the students, the milk delivery guy.
Correct.
The resale of this, popcorn stands, chamber sponsors events, and other.
Right.
Literally other.
They're currently
That's like everything.
not going through that application process.
So in the other category, it talks about events sponsored by local merchants, dealers, traders, auctioneers, display area under 3,000 square feet, not limited to antique shows, flea markets, craft shows, art shows, sports shows. So there is more of a description there than just saying other.
I mean,
To be fair.
To be fair, they only listed 7 of them, so it's fine.
Yeah. Do you have enough to work with, Mike?
I would say no on the exemption, so I'd be happy to bring back the other stuff. I'd bring back the whole thing, and if you guys want to go through the exemptions, you guys can say yay or nay to that, I suppose.
How about if we hit them? Newspapers.
The exemptions meaning what? They still go and get the permit process?
No, they don't.
Have to file.
They don't.
Well, I'm asking you guys if if you're going to call them exempt, we're saying you don't have to go through any of the process.
Right.
Those on this list.
You have to go through the process.
That's right.
So, item A is newspapers, newsboys and girls. Currently exempted? Anybody want them to fill out an app?
Sure, why not? No. No.
Okay. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Campfire Girls, similar organizations.
No.
No. Farmers who are offering sale products that they raise themselves?
I would say yes on that one. There'd be no different than a door-to-door salesman.
So have them
I
fill
mean,
out an app?
why would they be, just because they have an agricultural product, why would they be different than anybody else selling a vacuum?
Would that include the farmer's market?
Is farmer's market filling that stuff out now?
That's part of the, no, that's the chamber, isn't it? Chamber. Farmers market?
I don't think it is.
It's a separate
They're
request.
separate.
They fill out a street closure form, they receive the approval from the council as a separate item.
I guess I agree with Jason. I don't know why that group would be exempt, personally.
Okay, so that at least gives an opportunity for discussion. Student organizations. Anybody representing the Oskaloosa Community School District? Project sponsored by organizations recognized by the school.
Could that not be wrapped up into item B where it says club members of Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, campfires? I mean, that's all that same type of stuff.
Well, there's,
One is sanctioned by the school, one isn't.
yeah.
I'm okay with students being exempt.
Okay. Milk delivery.
It's non-existent.
Happen anymore?
Yeah,
Okay.
Swan's Dairy.
Yeah, I suppose that's right. Who only incidentally solicit additional business or make special sales. Okay, so what is meant by only occasional or only incidentally? So I'm thinking some of those guys have routes.
It's kind of like sale by owner. When they sell something they don't own.
Well, for instance, where would like the Swan truck, don't they go around, they fit under a milk, I mean, or do they get?
And Schwann's have never come in and done one.
That's like door to door, isn't it?
It is.
But there are other,
But we have had, and see,
Delivery.
that's the thing with this, somebody comes in and asks.
How about the seafood
and they-
guys and the meat guys that come?
It will
And their
depend on your
pickup with that
driver.
deep
Sometimes
freeze
we'll have,
strapped in the back.
like Iowa Steaks is that one. We've had them in the past, but not consistently, but we don't always know when they're in town. But if they come in and ask, we look at the exemptions. If they don't fall under an exemption, then yes, we make them fill it out and we charge them for the fee and they go through it.
I would absolutely say those guys need to fill it out.
Yeah, yeah, and if they do, and they come in and they don't fit, we will. But not everybody always comes in and asks for it. Just like the farmer one here, you might have somebody that comes in and asks, but you're gonna have a lot that probably
I
don't come in and
honestly
ask.
don't know how I could not fall under an exemption under this particular code.
What was that, I'm sorry?
I don't understand how I could not come up with an exemption here. And if I wanted to exempt, I'd just go become a member of the chamber. And then
Oh,
I'd
we
automatically become
probably,
exempt.
we've probably got 3 or 4 applications, we've got that are doing businesses right now that are working under a current license.
but again, it has to be a chamber-sponsored event. It would be for that particular event.
For them to be exempt.
Right.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'm thinking we can strike E for milk delivery.
I'd be okay with that.
Okay. Resale or institutional use, people calling on businesses or institution for the purpose of selling products for resale or institutional use. So a lot of those guys buy the business lunches for us.
That's just salesmen that come to our,
So if you've got, somebody who's coming to do business-to-business type sales.
I'm fine with that being exempt.
Okay.
Wait, why would that be exempt? I mean, why?
Well, if I gotta take-
If farmers and we're talking about coming to your house, not coming to your business.
But I thought this was coming to businesses.
Businesses right now are not required to get a license. They just are required to let the police department know.
Right.
This whole process is just for the ones that are going to your homes. If you're going door to door, it's just for homes. But the businesses are not required to get a license. If you're going to a business.
If a salesman comes and calls in Musco, he can walk in and it's fine.
Okay, that's
But
what I
if
was
he comes-
trying.
If he comes and knocks on your door, he needs to go get a license.
I agree.
Yep.
I didn't realize what this was, my fault, didn't understand it.
So I'm-
My interest is low on this issue, so I'm probably not as deep as I should be.
Okay. Popcorn stands,
How about peanut stands?
Yeah.
Nope, just popcorn.
just popcorn, that's all we're talking about.
I'd call it non-exempt. I haven't seen a popcorn stand here.
Okay. So in or out?
I'm okay with striking it.
I as well.
Okay. Chamber-sponsored events, I think we talked that one through. And then the last one is other. Events sponsored by local merchants, dealers, traders, auctioneers with display areas under 3,000 square feet, including but not limited to antique shows, flea markets, craft shows, art shows, and sports shows.
I'm okay with striking that because I think you could go under the chamber and be exempt there if you needed to be.
Other thoughts?
Strike it because of what?
If it's a chambered sponsor event, you're exempt from all of this. This, if you're a business or you're anything, you can be exempt under any of this.
So if you're an auctioneer, do you have to get a permit?
Yeah, no.
You don't because of this exemption.
Because
right?
of this other, yeah.
If there's a craft show that isn't chamber-sponsored event, somebody else does it, that's where that exemption would fall under.
Or if there's a household sale or something like that.
I thought we were working on going door to door. That, it doesn't feel like that applies.
I don't either.
This is transient merchant and solicitor and peddler, so it's covering all. So it could just be somebody that sets up on a parking lot on A Avenue too. So like those farmers, that's where they're not going door to door to sell. They're having their stand on A Avenue somewhere and you go to them.
Okay.
So this covers the 3 different types of licenses.
Strike it or not?
Leave that one in, don't we?
Okay, I'm hearing leaving it in.
I would say strike it.
Okay.
I say leave it in.
Yeah, leave it in.
Got an opinion, Tom?
Not really.
Got any interest?
Well,
Okay, Doug?
it's like the whole book. It all needs review, but
Okay.
start.
Seems like it could be, well, better defined,
Okay.
but
Can we, it's still got to come back anyway. We could redefine it and let's take a look at it.
Okay.
Question.
Can do that. So let's go with Mike striking C, E, G, and I. And well, I guess I is a reword.
Reword.
Yeah.
You're not striking D, are you?
So are you telling Swan's Dairy they gotta come get a permit now?
It's
As a
C.
milkman. Is that their primary business?
Not milk.
They have gone door to door. I
Yeah.
would say they're supposed to get one.
Yeah.
They go to door to door.
So,
So you are saying that?
yeah.
I would think under the existing code, they should do that.
Okay. Okay. Anything further, Jason?
No, sir.
Okay. Moving on. Let's see. Wait a minute. Phil. Did we want to talk rates? As
We
far
would,
as
we need a motion in a second direction too, Mayor.
Okay.
But I would just bring something back to you that would be workable.
Okay. So we have a motion supporting those changes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Walling?
Yes.
Yates?
yes.
Calgery?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Van Zetten?
Yes.
Versteg?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item F. Okay, considering a motion directing the city manager to pursue negotiations with Hy-Vee, J.C. Penney, and the Penn Central Mall for the purpose of converting existing parking lot space to grass-covered parking pad. The city owns and maintains a number of the parking lots that serve the Central Business District, Central Mall, and Oskaloosa Hy-Vee store. As part of past agreements between the parties and J.C. Penney, any modifications to the parking lots require approval of the interested parties. At this time, staff is seeking direction from the City Council on pursuing a concept that takes existing parking space that's located between KFC and the Urban Park, converting the site into a building pad or outlot covered with grass. These conversations could lead to further evaluations by the city to make much-needed improvements to the existing parking lots that serve Hy-Vee, J.C. Penney, and the Penn Central Mall in the form of new pavement, drainage, and lighting. It appears all parties are interested in allowing the city to pursue this concept. A separate city council action will be required at a later date. And lastly, the possible conversion of this parking lot into green space or a building pad should also be included in the planned corridor improvement program. Staff expects to present that later to the city council this year. So we have a motion supporting that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Well, we've had some discussions on the cost of improving those parking lots. From, it's my view, I'd like a better, as we move through this,
Yeah.
a better understanding of what those costs truly are. And I know those lots are in need of repair, but I want to make sure that we don't get forced into something that we can't financially handle at the right time.
Correct, and I think that's one of the reasons why I asked for this to be a separate item, kind of a two-step process. One, there seems to be a lot of confusion about how this, the council talked about it at the last meeting, but the last conversations with JCPenney did seem to indicate that there could be a tie in the connections of the connection to new parking lots being redeveloped, and I don't think that was necessarily the intent. And so you're correct. I think we need to watch the timing of that. We want to talk to JCPenney and the mall about expectations. If we can do this within a reasonable amount of time and load it up so that it goes in with the bonding plans that we've talked about during previous council meetings or budget retreats, I think that makes sense, and we should do that. This is just, again, the idea of keeping the conversation going. My hope would be to present those final costs, to changes to an outlot, or any other expectations that the parties might agree to or consider at a future meeting.
Thank you.
I'm not opposed to letting Michael pursue it.
No,
I just don't understand why we think they wouldn't let us build a Hardee's there, so why are they going to let us turn it into a green space when that removes parking too? I don't understand the real picture.
But in the conversations, the mall and the tenant, JCPenney's, they were fine with allowing the construction of the Hardee's. There, again, were stipulations to go along with that. So if it's built, again, there were concerns that, yes, there were some parking spaces removed. However, I think we got them off of that issue because they still meet their minimum space requirements per the lease. So we had to show that to them. So then the issue became the building was blocking the main view of JCPenney's from A Avenue. And so that became the discussion point of that $20,000 compensation to them. So in this instance, nothing is going to be blocking the view of the building from A Avenue. So I don't believe it would be ideal to make us pay that, or whoever pay that, because there's nothing going to block the view. So that's why I think maybe there's a compromise there.
Well, at least not at this time. It's not
Correct. Yeah, if they want to make that claim later, if something comes in and it's ready, receives their approval, our approval, and the mall's approval, and Hy-Vee's to be constructed, then yeah, I think they would be asking the same thing. Or maybe their staff turns over and they don't ask for anything, because that can happen.
Any further comments or questions? Roll call.
Yates?
Yes.
Alger?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Van Zetten?
Yes.
Versteg?
Yes.
Walling?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item G, consider,
I would like to appropriate time in response to agenda item G and possibly H.
Mr. Hook,
Yes.
ordinarily, am I correct that, okay, you're taking issue with us going into closed session? Item G?
No, my issue is I requested an agenda item put on the council regarding some of the same under discussion, and I was refused by the city manager, and just recently refused again, because I was not notified that I wasn't be able to my item was not proper to be put on the agenda item, but it definitely will be concerning your next item, your property purchase, which I think is germane, that you should know this information prior to when you sign any purchase agreements.
Okay.
If you don't want me to speak, I'll go home.
Mayor, the item tonight is not to actually have a purchase agreement, just so you understand that would be
No.
a separate item. And
Have him turn his mic up a little, would you?
Well, there are no speakers in here.
Yeah, but he kept flipping it up and down, so I assume that's a speaker.
That's for the television.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay, so the item in question, can you elaborate on that, Mike?
Item G is to go into closed session. Item H is directing me, if you so choose so, to have further negotiations with the property owner on the property located at 208 A Avenue West. This is not a purchase agreement item. The council, even if they approved action associated with this, would still have to come back, we'd have to come back with a separate item for a purchase agreement.
But the documents were under discussion with the Hardee's property.
Well, it sounds, I'll go ahead and make the judgment here, that this process will be sufficiently slow, that we're interested.
I guarantee you I will not take a lot of your time.
Sir, I'm going to answer no, that I
Oh.
would like to bring it back at another time.
Mayor and
Okay.
Council,
Your loss, not mine.
what we've offered to the public, and I haven't spoken to Mr. Hook, what we offer the public is that to call the public, there's 3 minutes to talk about any item that is or isn't on the agenda. So I believe that my office, when I say my office, my staff, represented to Mr. Hook that he would have that opportunity. If a member of the public comes and requests an item, I do not put it on the agenda. That's when I refer him to you as City Council. Otherwise, I don't put an item on the agenda.
Why wasn't I notified in writing then? I notified you in writing.
Okay, sounds like we could have this discussion later.
I don't know if I have the time, David.
So, like I was saying, I would consider holding a closed session under Iowa Code Section 21.5.1.j to discuss the purchase of particular real estate. This is where the city manager would like to discuss the possible purchase of real estate with the city council where premature disclosure would be reasonably expected to increase the price that the city would have to pay for that property and reconvene in open session to possibly take action. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Caligari.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Van Zetten.
Yes.
Versteeg.
Yes.
Walling.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. So we'll go into closed session at this time. Well, let's see here.
We do the rest of them?
Yeah, let's go into closed session at this time. Thank you very much. Okay, we're back into open session. Let's move on to item H. This is to consider a motion directing the city manager to pursue the acquisition of certain real estate that located at 208 A Avenue West, also known as the Hardee's Building. The property is presently vacated and listed for sale in the amount of $149,900 with a local real estate company. The property is surrounded by city-owned parking lots as well as the urban park. Although this property is located at a high-traffic location, site constraints make this parcel less than ideal for most of the retail, commercial, or restaurant redevelopment opportunities. Staff is seeking City Council's direction on a possible acquisition of the property with the intent of demolishing the existing building and holding the property until a corridor improvement program can help identify the highest and best use of the parcel. So do we have a motion supporting this?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Van Zetten. Versteeg.
Yes.
Walling.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Caligari.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Okay, that passes. Get to the end here. Okay, item 8, this is reports on items from city staff. City manager, anything?
Just real quick, just as a reiteration of what I mentioned before, the item that was just approved does not mean that the city owns Hardee's. It just means that I'm going to talk to the real estate agent about acquiring it. So I just want to make sure that that's very, very clear. That's all I have.
Okay. City clerk, anything?
No, sir.
City attorney, anything?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Moving on then to city council members. Joe,
What?
anything?
Oh, no, nothing.
Aaron?
No, thanks.
Hey, Tom?
Nothing, sir.
Hey, Doug?
Thanks,
Tom?
No, sir.
Jason? Okay. I've got nothing to add, so with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say? Aye. Okay. We're adjourned.